Hello and welcome back. In episode 12, I mentioned that the first topic of this season would be EPR. I chose it because it's starting to show up on small business owners' radar more and more through packaging suppliers or through retail partners asking questions. We'll focus on California today, and I'll name briefly at the end the other states that are implementing similar programs. So what is EPR really? EPR stands for Extended Producer Responsibility. The core idea is that if you put something in packaging and sell it, you're responsible for what happens to that packaging after the consumer is done with it. Up until now, that responsibility landed mostly on municipalities and by extension on taxpayers. EPR says actually the companies that choose the packaging in the first place should carry more of that burden. You pick the material, you should help pay for whatever happens to it at the end of its life. In California, that's under SB 54. So SB 54, officially called the Plastic Pollution Prevention and Packaging Producer Responsibility Act, was signed into law in June 2022. It's one of the most ambitious packaging laws in the US, and if you sell products in single-use plastic packaging in California, it's relevant to you. The law targets what is called covered material, single-use plastic packaging and plastic food serviceware. Think plastic bags, clamshells, bottles, wraps, anything with a plastic coating or lining. So how does this actually work? Compliance runs through the Producer Responsibility Organization, a PRO, a PRO. In California, that's the Circular Action Alliance, or CAA. Producers join, report their packaging data, and pay fees that fund recycling infrastructure and California's plastic pollution mitigation program. CalRecycle oversees the whole thing. There are 3 things producers need to submit to the CAA portal. First is a baseline report, so using the 2023 packaging data, covering what is sold into California by weight and material type. This was due November 2025, but late submissions are still being accepted. Second one is an annual supply report using the 2025 data, which is due May 31st, 2026, so that's in a few weeks. This is what the CAA uses to calculate early fees. And then the third thing is an annual source reduction report, also using the 2025 data, that is also due May 31st, 2026. This tracks progress toward the state's reduction goals. So if the November 2025 deadline passed before you even knew this law existed, don't panic. Late submissions are still being accepted, but the May 31st, 2026 deadline for supply and source reduction data are coming up fast. Now, if you're wondering, okay, who is a producer? So in short, it's the brand owner. If your name is on the product and is sold in single-use plastic packaging in California, you're likely a producer under SB 54. If you manufacture products for someone else's brand, that responsibility typically sits with the brand owner. But verify your specific situation, because it can get nuanced depending on how the relationship is structured. Retailers selling unbranded items in covered packaging are also included. If your annual gross sales in California are under 1 million, you're exempt from most of these reporting and fee requirements. The exemption isn't automatic though. You still need to apply for it through CalRecycle, and it's approved in 2-year increments. So even if you're under the threshold, there's still a step to take. Okay, so we covered the what. Now let's talk about now what. There are 5 practical steps for you. First one is Know what your packaging is actually made of. This is the starting point. So call your packaging supplier and ask, what's the material composition? Is it single use? Is it recyclable or compostable? This information is your foundation for everything else. Now, second step is figure out where you stand. Do you sell in California? Is it under or over the 1 million in California sales? If you're over, you need to check your registration with the CEA and go from there. If you're under, you'll want to apply for the small producer exemption. CalRecycle's website has guidance, and your industry trade association, if you're part of one, may have already translated these requirements in plain language for your sector. Third step is start exploring alternatives. And you have time, but start doing this. You do not need to overhaul your packaging, in the next few weeks. But you should be starting having conversations now. Ask your current supplier what recyclable or compostable options they offer. Talk to one or two other suppliers. Get a sense of what's out there and what it costs. Small businesses are genuinely surprised to find compliant options are closer in price than they expected. The fourth step is ask your packaging suppliers all the hard questions. Your suppliers are dealing with this too, and the response to it will eventually affect you through pricing, through what materials they stock, through what options they can offer. Ask them directly, how are you preparing for EPR? What compliant options are you developing? If they look at you blankly, that's a signal that they're not the right partner for you. And this connects all to what we talked about in episode 6. Your business is only as strong as your partners you depend on. And step 5 is start a simple packaging inventory. Document what you use, how much, and where you source it. A basic spreadsheet works. This becomes your foundation for reporting. Getting it organized now, when there's no pressure, is much easier than scramble it to pull it together when someone is waiting for it. I know this episode covered a lot of regulatory ground, and I don't want you to walk away overwhelmed. So let me flip the frame for a second. Businesses that start this process early get to do it on their own timeline. They can compare options, test new materials, phase in changes without blowing up their costs or their operations. The businesses that wait, and some will of course, are going to be doing all of this under pressure at rush prices with fewer choices. There's also a real upside to this too. Sustainable packaging is increasingly something customers notice, something retail partners ask about, and something that differentiates you from competitors who are still ignoring it. Getting ahead of this isn't just about avoiding problems, it's a positioning move. I mentioned that other states are implementing this or starting to: Maine, Oregon, Colorado, and Washington. These have all passed EPR packaging laws too, and even more states are actively working on legislation. So if you sell nationally, this landscape is worth keeping an eye on. I'm not going deep into each state today, but if you are in a specific state and you want to know what's happening there, email me. I'll look into it and either answer it directly, or maybe if I have much demand, I can make it an episode. So what you can do this week: 3 actions. First is find out what your packaging is made of. Call your supplier this week and ask. Second one is figure out your California exposure. If you sell there, how much you sell, and to see if you're above or below the threshold. And then if you're under, apply for exemption. And if you're over, you need to register and start working on your report. And 3, if you sell in California and use single-use plastic packaging, add EPR to your risk management log from episode 3, if you go back and re-listen to that episode. So keep a close eye on this as a risk factor for your business. So to recap, EPR, extended producer responsibility, shifts the costs and responsibility for packaging end of life from municipalities back to producers who chose the packaging. California's SB 54 is the most comprehensive version of this in the US. If your California sales are under $1 million, you're exempt from most reporting when fees, but you need to apply for that exemption. Know your packaging, know your exposure, start having conversations with suppliers and get your inventory documented. And start now. It's a lot to figure out. Thank you for sticking with me through a topic that, let's be honest, it's not the most thrilling, but it's an important one. And the more you know about this, the better. If you have questions about EPR, about what's happening in your state, or about anything else you're navigating in your business, send them to me. My email is in the show notes. And that's how this season works. I said that before. I need your questions so I can prepare my episodes. Small steps lead to big impact. Resilience isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. See you on the first.